Disturbing stories involving babysitting, and this is the suspicious babysitting activities of Susan Baker. November 2009, a bizarre babysitting story unfolded in Chipley, Florida, when a 7-month-old Shannon Dedrick disappeared from her home. At the time, Shannon's babysitter was Susan Baker, the half-sister of Shannon's father. 5 days later, Shannon was found alive inside a wooden box in Susan's home. Susan claimed that she'd kidnapped the child to protect her from her drug-using parents. Nevertheless, Susan was convicted on numerous felony charges and sentenced to 25 years in prison. This would not be the only suspicious disappearance to occur while Susan Baker was looking after a child. Over 20 years earlier, Susan was employed as a babysitter by James and Linda Baker, but the couple's marriage dissolved when James was discovered to be having an affair with Susan. James was subsequently awarded custody of his children, a 6-year-old Nina and 3-year-old Paul. By 1987, James was married to Susan, and they lived with the 2 children in Beaufort, South Carolina. March 5th, Susan was babysitting Paul and claimed to have fallen asleep after putting Paul down for a nap. When she awoke, Paul was gone from the house. Around the same time, a family service office received a phone call from an unidentified woman who claimed to have taken Paul. However, suspicion turned towards Susan once it was discovered that both Baker children had suffered constant abuse at her hands. Though there was never enough evidence to indict Susan for Paul's disappearance, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison for abusing Nina. But her sentence was suspended after serving only 80 days. Even though Susan Baker is now back in prison for another crime, she continues to remain silent about what happened to her former stepson.